Welcome back. You'd be hard-pressed to find a hotter neighborhood in America than the Fulton Market / West Loop district of Chicago. And the New Chicago Tribune editorial points out there are 21 development projects ready to go, but they can't seem to find a way to get off the ground. Now, the editorial says it paints an ominous picture for the city's future and threats posed by the current financial struggles. And joining me now is Tribune editorial page writer Steve Daniels. Steve, great to see you. Thanks for being here.
No, thanks for having me.
It was 21 projects that are slated, got the green light, and they just can't get off the ground.
By our count, yeah. Well, what we understand is it's really, there's a number of reasons that developments have struggled. I mean, one of the things, interest rates, financials that people are familiar with, but that's not what's really holding in the neighborhood back. It is just a crisis of confidence on the part of people who invest in these projects, and we're talking about equity investors in real estate projects.
So it's not just your old banks and institutions, they're getting equity.
These are institutional investors that specialize in real estate financing. The banks will follow along as you get the equity. And so the problem these developers are having is they're having trouble getting the equity investments. Which a greater portion of what you need to finance these things is now coming from equity because banks have cut back on how much they're willing to lend and percentage-wise to get a project built.
So they're not happy with the Johnson administration and his handling of city finances?
Yeah, I mean, it's just concern about the city's future. Like, what if we do a pro forma based on these financials and these taxes, and then 3 or 4 years, 5 years down the line, we look to exit the investment and make our money back, what are the taxes going to be then? And right now, they have no way of predicting that and basically assume it's going to be bad. And whatever pro forma we wrote back 5 years ago is going to be obsolete, and essentially this was not an investment worth making.
So is it property taxes they're most concerned about, even though the mayor is not proposing a hike in property taxes? But given the structural problems of the city, it would seem to be that at some point they're going to have to go up.
Right. Property taxes is a big one for sure for a real estate development. The head tax that the mayor has proposed on corporations doesn't directly affect apartment buildings, but does make you worry about the future economy of the city. So, and then whatever else they come up with. I mean, you know, if these things don't work.
The social media tax.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the
just
breathing tax.
Too much uncertainty. Business of all kinds, whether real estate investment or just selling you widgets, what they want is some kind of predictability. And, you know, you're never going to get complete predictability in any world, including the business world, but you want some line of sight into what the future holds. And Chicago, under this mayor, doesn't give these guys enough of that.
And I think the alarming thing you bring up in the editorial is Fulton Market is as hot as a neighborhood could be. So if people are scared to start building in Fulton Market, what's it like for the rest of the city?
Exactly. And you know, it's not as if there isn't demand. You know, it's not as if people don't want to live in Fulton Market. It's not as if companies don't want to locate in Fulton Market, and that you can't say that about a lot of other parts of the city. It's not as if we don't need hotel rooms in Fulton Market. We do. The hotels are packed. So it is a truly just difficult to deal with situation when you have demand. When you think in law of economics, supply and demand, right? Demand's there, then we'll supply it. Well, right now they're having, can't do that.
How does Chicago compare to other cities? I mean, every city in the country is dealing with higher interest rates, but somehow those cities are getting developers to build.
That's right. I mean, you look at, we identify, Nashville, Austin, Texas, Denver. Denver has built so much, so many apartments that right now, if you want to rent an apartment in Denver, they're offering you 2 months free rent.
Wow. Wonder if I can do this job remotely from Denver.
Yes.
That is not the situation I have here.
And it's not because people don't want to live in Denver. They do. Denver's a beautiful city, and there's a lot going for Colorado, obviously. It is simply that they built so many apartments over the last several years that the supply has outstripped demand.
Yeah, and Chicago has the opposite problem. I mean, there is a housing crunch, and there needs to be more housing built.
That's right. And we're not having the population growth. It's just simply that we haven't had anything built or not enough built. And Fulton Market is, ground zero for that. I mean, these are mostly apartment buildings that have been green lighted and can't get built. So even though these apartment buildings are for they're not affordable housing. Basically, every one of these projects has 20% set aside for affordable housing per the city's policies. So, but no matter what you're doing is you're providing supply. And more supply helps everybody else, no matter where they live in Chicago.
Not too far away. I'm surprised the Bally's mega development they've started on that, given all the problems that Bally's has had internally.
Right. That Bally's has started on it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like construction has started there, not necessarily Fulton Market, but what's the solution then? I mean, if you had the mayor's ear, how do you get those backhoes in the ground and those cranes up?
Well, you need, are we going to see it from this mayor? No, but we need a different approach. You need an approach that is business friendly, that is not so heavy on taxes, that is not constantly looking for some large source of tax revenue, typically from corporate sources or from real estate developers or from the people that he perceives has money. You need to signal to the investment community that the city is open for business. And right now, that's just not happening.
That's part of why these alders brought in Ernst & Young to comb through the budget. The mayor's getting some pushback for paying for this report. It comes up with up to $1.4 billion in efficiencies. He's only including $80 million of that. Would you join that chorus of alders saying, hey, why don't you adopt more of this?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that has been a problem throughout. Chicago's got a structural financial problem, period. So how do you solve it? Well, you need to look both at revenue and you need to look certainly at costs. And right now, this administration just simply hasn't looked seriously at costs. And we've got a problem in the city in terms of pensions, which are driving a lot of this, which, ultimately, you're just simply going to have to look at your workforce. As other cities, by the way, other Democratic-run cities around the country have done just that, facing budget deficits that are pretty serious. Los Angeles has done this. San Francisco has done this, where they have said, oh, we're going to have to lay people off, and gotten their public sector unions to the table to actually cooperate in trying to help.
Yeah, and
solve
one of the
budget
recommendations is having your employees pay a little more toward their health care.
Right.
We know that you can't do anything with pensions, but perhaps health care you could do something with.
That was one of the Ernst & Young recommendations that really stood out to us, was that one. I mean, the city of Chicago's workforce gets very, very generous health care benefits, much more so than your average city of Chicago's size.
Right.
Ernst & Young identified 130, if you just brought the healthcare benefits to the same level as other cities get, $130 million of savings. That's a lot.
That's $130 million. All right, Steve Daniels, it's the latest editorial. Everybody go read the Tribune, read the op-ed page. Some great opinions in there. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And some final thoughts right when we come back.